Hello and welcome our blood viewers to RTD's News English edition. As usual, we begin tonight's news with the major edition. The head of state receives new members of the Constitutional Council. Djibouti's first steps towards green hydrogen, Department of Energy and the Australian campaign. And on the international scene, in Italy, we got collapse of a glacier in the Alps leaves at least 6 dead. Those were our major top highlights. Welcome back to our newsroom, our beloved viewers. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, received this morning at the Palace of the Republic the President of the Constitutional Council of Djibouti, Mr. Abdi Ismail Hirsi, accompanied by the new members of the Constitutional Court who took oath before the President. In a brief speech, the President of the Constitutional Council of Djibouti, Mr. Abdi Ismail Hirsi, thanked the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, for his support to the highest organ of the country. He expressed his commitment to do everything to protect with loyalty and diligence the Constitution of the country.
L'honneur de guider va tenir son engagement conformément aux dispositions de la Constitution et de la loi organique qui l'organise. Nous vous remercions profondément au nom de toute l'équipe de cette disponibilité que vous nous avez offerte et de notre future coopération et collaboration dans l'exercice de notre haute mission. Et nous nous engageons, comme je l'ai dit d'ores et déjà, de mettre tout en œuvre pour vous accompagner dans l'édification de l'état de droit, de faire de notre mieux pour que la primauté de la loi soit assurée chaque fois qu'il nous est demandé.
They took an oath on the Holy Quran to perform their duties with neutrality and integrity in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and the organic laws of the country. The three new members of the Constitutional Council are respectively Mr. Ahmad Usman Hashim and Saeed Ahmad Abdullah and Hassan Idris Samire. The Constitutional Council of the country constitutes the highest body guardian of the law and democracy of the country, which controls and marks that is the fundamental rights and freedoms enriched in the Constitution of our country.
الالتزامات التي تفرضها علي وظيفتي وأن أحافظ على سر المداولات التي أشارك فيها والله على ما نقول وكيل.
The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, delivered a brief speech in which he welcomed the new members of the Constitutional Council of the country. He stressed the importance of their fundamental roles of the highest authority of the country, which is the Constitutional Council of Djibouti. The President said that the respect and protection of the country's constitution is the cornerstone of democracy in our republic.
Bonne continuation pour ceux qui sont déjà dans le métier.
Then His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, held talks with the President of the Constitutional Council and the new members of the Constitutional Council, in which the two parties dealt with a number of issues of common interest, including the importance and the main role of these new members in this prestigious institution. The Minister of Justice in charge of Human Rights, Mr. Hassan Ali Bahdon, and the legal advisor to the President of the Republic participated in this meeting, Mrs. Suad Hussein. In addition to the constitutional mission, the Constitutional Council acts as a body that works with the various authorities, executives, and legislative. Shifting gears under the leadership of the President of the National Assembly, Mr. Muhammad Ali, The Conference of the Presidents met this Monday, July 2022, with the held in the presence of the Prime Minister, His Excellency Mr. Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed. Also took part in this meeting the second Vice President, the Secretary Constitutor, the President of the Parliamentary Group, the Presidents of Standing Committees, and the General Rapporteur of the Budget. The Conference of Presidents took note of the draft law number 168/4/N/22/8L on the attribution, organization, and functioning of the ministry in charge of the digital economy and innovation and transmitted it to the competent committee. Finally, the Conference of Presidents deliberated on the agenda and the next public meeting of the extraordinary session. The President of the House of Representatives received this morning in his office the Ambassador of the European Union to Djibouti and to IGAD on a goodwill visit. At the outset of the meeting, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Mohammed Ali Hamad, welcomed the Ambassador of the European Union and discussed with him issues of common interest. As part of an investment in a project making the graphitaking of a green industry in Djibouti, a first signing ceremony of a framework agreement took place at the office of the Ministry of Energy, in charge of natural resources, this Sunday, July 3rd, 2022, with the company Pharmaceutical Future Industry. Indeed, this morning, at the end of inauguration that lasted 8 months, the Minister of Energy in charge of natural resources, Mr. Yunus Aligeri, and his host of the Australian group have activated simultaneously their signatures at the bottom of framework agreement providing for the production of green hydrogen from renewable energy on two dedicated sites, one in North Gubat and the other in Ubukh, in the presence of Mr. Abu Bakr Umar Hadi and Dr. Kayad Musa Ahmad, respectively, Ministry of Energy and Ministry of Natural Resources. This was done in the presence of Mr. Abu Bakr Umar Hadi, the President of the Free Zones Authority and Director of the Office of the Development of Renewable Energy, which is also known in short as ODEC. Green hydrogen is made from water and electricity from renewable energy sources, resulting in a zero carbon footprint. The electricity process produces hydrogen but also oxygen and heat. In a speech made by the Minister of Energy in charge of Natural Resources, Mr. Yunus Aligeri, on this occasion, he welcomed the Australian company with which he has concluded an agreement to produce the first phase of renewable energy. The Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Muhammad Mahmoud, received today in his office a delegation led by Dr. Joel Green Wynn of the University of Nashville in Tennessee in the United States and also President of the Association of International Education Administrators. The meeting took place in the presence of his collaborators. The discussion focused on ways and means of cooperation between the University of Nashville and MEMFOP in the field of English language. The Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mr. Mustafa Muhammad Mahmoud, insisted at length on the evolution of the English language, but also to implement the certification of the School of Excellence and the creation of opportunities in education for students who have graduated or obtained their BAc. The head of delegation, Dr. Joel Green Wynn, presented the intensive English programs to enable our students to strengthen their English language skills. Finally, the two parties agreed to work together to build a new partnership that will establish bridges between MEMFOP and Nashville University in Tennessee, USA. The Minister Delegate in charge of Digital Economy and Innovation, Mrs. Mariam Hamadou Ali, signed this morning at the Ministry headquarters a memorandum of understanding with the Director General of the Djibouti Survey Fund, Dr. Salim Fernani. This agreement confirms the cooperation of the two institutions in implementing the Djibouti roadmap set by the President of the Republic to drive the growth of the digital economy, where digital is a priority of Djibouti. To meet the challenge of creating jobs, opportunities, and creating an environment to provide public services and make them accessible to all citizens in all regions of Djibouti. This strengthens the cooperation between the Ministry with all other public institutions, including the Ministry of Budget and the Ports Authority, working to create a digital ecosystem conducive to investment, entrepreneurship, and innovation. The President of the Republic stressed the need to achieve tangible results and implement digital procedures and projects within the framework of Vision 2035 and the comprehensive linking institution of the National Development Plan for Djibouti. For his part, the Director General of the Sovereign Fund in Djibouti, Dr. Fernandez, stressed the importance of enhancing the entrepreneurship environment in Djibouti. The ambassador of the Arab Republic of Djibouti, Mr. Hussam Eldin Rida, held yesterday evening at the Kempinski Hotel an official reception part of his country's celebration in the 7th anniversary of the revolution of 23rd July 1952. The reception ceremony was attended by the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Government Spokesman Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, and the Minister of Infrastructure and Transport Mr. Hassan Muhammad Ibrahim, heads of Arab and foreign diplomatic missions headed by the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, the Yemeni Ambassador to Djibouti Mr. Abdullah bin Musalim bin Sukatari, representatives of the United Nations Organization operating in Djibouti, senior officers of the ADF, as well as members of the Egyptian community in Djibouti also participated in the event. The guests were received by Ambassador Hussein Eldin Reda, surrounded by his closest collaborator at the embassy. The Embassy of the Republic of Djibouti to the State of Cuba celebrated the 45th anniversary of the National Independence Day in the presence of a large crowd of ambassadors, diplomats, and heads of diplomatic missions accredited to Cuba. In addition to many Turkish state officials, businessmen, and the Djiboutian community, the occasion was revitalized by the playing of the national anthem and displaying folk songs and dances.
Has a population of close to about 1 million people based on recent figures. The capital and the largest city is Djibouti City. Spoken languages are French and also Arabic, which is both officially, Somali and also Afar. You do have main religions, which is Islam, and also about 95% of the population are Muslim. The barren country is of considerable geographic interest. Djibouti controls access and egress to a major waterways, and reason why this will drive Djibouti across the world and also put the country forces to consolidate and also the superior resources for building this amazing African project.
Bandira titirolina, kashitile wanalina, nina ikabuti abar, itiritira kitulina, gori samallalina, bandira titirolina, kashitile wanalina.
وعلي الصوت علي جيبوتي والله جنة رب الكون ملي حللي بحسنة علي الصوت.
The European Union IGAD COVID-19 Responsive Program organized today the 5th Project Steering Committee meeting in Djibouti at the Palace Kempinski Hotel. This program has contributed to mitigating the impact of the pandemic in the IGAD region, with more than 440 activities spread over 55 cross-border sites such as Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Somalia, Sudan, South Sudan, and Uganda. Today's meeting brought together key stakeholders, including representatives from the European Union, UNOPS, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development. As such, the program improved access to healthcare and water and sanitation and hygiene services. It has also addressed the gender-based violence, improved community engagement, and promoted digital solutions to health challenges. The program supports some of the most vulnerable groups at risk of the virus, including migrants, refugees, border and custom officials, and cross-border communities.
I think you have a very detailed programme on at a very technical level, and I suppose I won't delve into that, but I think I just want to wish you all the best in terms of the findings you'll make and the proposals that will come out of the meeting. But I think at this stage the pandemic is far from over, unfortunately, but I think if it's shown us anything, it's shown us about some of the weaknesses in the health infrastructure in this region. but that's something that's common, I think, across the world. Even in Europe, we found great weaknesses that we had to fix.
Let's listen to another speech made at this conference.
Highlight the major program of this project, and also which is also complementing the IGAD member state efforts on the COVID-19 response. The EU IGAD COVID response, under the name EU IGAD Response to Health and Socio-Economic Impact of COVID-19 in the IGAD region, has been now for the last 2 years implementing by all partners. IGAD as the coordinator, UNOPS as the fund management, and also UNICEF, IOM, East African Trademark, who are also our important implementing partners, but also, of course, very important, are also member states who are implementing this project in their respective countries. We also wish to also highlight the generous support from the European Union, because the European Union has been the first partners who have actually come to IGAD after the summit, extraordinary summit of our head of state, actually, which has met together in 2020 when the pandemic has exploded.
As part of the preparations for the celebration of June 27, the association called CITD launched last week the Caravan of Social Cohesion in partnership with the Ministry of Interior in the United Nations Development Programme. The association, headed by the General Director Mr. Samatar Abdi, commemorated this important date of the history of our country by highlighting the street art by decorating the walls of the High School of Djibouti to put in place artistic figures. This framework of General Programme on Social Cohesion was also in collaboration with the Ministry of Education and the Mayor of Djibouti in order to beautify the city. Several representatives from the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Education, and UNDP were present and participated in this colorful event. Last but not least, to the region of Dakhil, which has recorded in recent weeks the influx of the first wave of drought victims from bordering sub-regions of Ethiopia. There are mostly Djibouti nationals deeply impacted by the harmful effects of the endemic drought in the grazing areas where they settled in terminus maintained with their livestock beyond our borders. However, the drought has been chronically raging in the Republic of Djibouti in recent years, characterized by a prolonged absence of rainfall, is proving to be more intensive, with the consequences of the disappearance of the plant cover, the drying up of water points, the rise of brain in the water tables, the malnutrition of livestock and famine, especially among the nomadic population, the migration of these pastorate families to sub-locations in the Dakhil region indicates a situation of stress on the livelihoods and food security of rural households due to lack of food and sufficient water. For the time being, there are only about 100 displaced households, with few remaining livestock in the southwestern part of the country, which are geographically located in the Gubad area. It should be noted that the localities in question are also subject, like the rest of the rural streets and sectors of the region, to the constraints of present drought, characterized by irregular rainfall, which is detrimental to the balance of the ecosystem, which is already precarious, as well as to the biophysical conditions necessary for pastoral life due to the drying up of water points, the degradation of photo potential, and the gradual weakening of the health and physical conditions of the livestock. This dramatic situation is particularly devastating for farmers who have recently suffered significant and recurrent losses of their livestock, which seems to be suffering from eclecticism, alcohobia, and external parasites, and brown diarrhea, causing death after 48 hours. In this course of the week alone, the veterinary team of Dakhil has recorded more than 1,000 cases of animal deaths, all species combined in the different sectors visited. Given these circumstances, the government of Djibouti has dispatched an initial food and medical assistant accompanied by a team of health and a vegetarian in order to provide regular care and vaccine to displaced families as well as host population and livestock. Shifting gears towards the international scene now, at least 6 dead, a dozen missing, and several other injured. This is the heavy toll after the collapse of a glacier in the northern Alps in Italy. A huge block broke off Sunday from the Malmuda Glacier in the Dolomites. An avalanche of snow, ice, and rock hit an access road where several erupted parties were. Some were swept away, according to the Italian media. Foreign climbers were part of these groups. The collapse near Punta Rocca along the route normally used to reach its summit. Well, by this, our beloved viewers, we conclude this edition. Thank you for being with us, and make sure to tune in later for more. Have a wonderful night. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.